Welcome to Waxing the Porpoise, the podcast that dives deep into the unexplored depths of cinema and occasionally the unexplained. This week, G-Baby and the usual suspect Steve welcome back special guest and friend of the show, Chris of the Mount Molehill podcast, to raise the flag and rap about the new Oz Perkins joint currently setting the world on fire, Longlegs from 2024. Join us as we discuss the Hollywood hype machine and new age marketing tactics employed by the film. Did it need more or less Nic Cage? The Portchester whooping crane, and ponder the question, is Longlegs a continuation within the Phantasm cinematic universe?
Boy.
The porpoises, midnight companions and keen observers, dance between the world of the real and the supernatural, whilst we resist the pull of a hermeneutic spin cycle. And where in the hell is Reggie Bannister when you need him?
No mercy. We're gonna like professionals, like Charles Bronson. We don't stop till the screaming starts, you dig?
Let's wax this phantasmagorical porpoise.
Chase, don't do that.
You see, we working on his brow chakra. We're just in back of the crown chakra.
Probably 15 times in a row, and it was like, this is the most Jim thing ever. But I was having like an internal discussion, like, is this really as funny as I think it is, or am I just melting down right now?
I shared it to almost everyone I know within the past 6 weeks, so I think it's
I got it.
Yeah, I love it.
Yeah, just that look on his face, like,
yeah, it's that sells it.
Can't do it.
He says it from like the diaphragm, like from the gut.
I just can't do it. That's really the bottom line. I can't do it.
Kind of reminds me of Dick too a little bit. It do. All right, let's get going on this thing here. Whew. Sipping on gin and juice. All right, welcome to Waxing the Porpoise, a podcast where we dive deep into the dark and uncharted waters of film, high strangeness, and everything in between. This evening, we cordially invite you to join us on this episode 97, where we'll be discussing the new horror film, thriller, crime, / supernatural, Longlegs from 2024. Before we dive in, Dick first, introductions are in order. I will be your host, resident Cloaca admirer and Project Pat evangelist, Jim G. Baby.
Our new school mascot, the Portchester whooping crane.
And to my virtual right, we have the usual suspect, don't call him Kevin Spacey, Steve.
No
Oh, shit, that's not right.
Nuclear levels of sour, lung slaughtering, necromancer kush.
How's it going, man?
Good. Was that an Outback Steakhouse commercial?
Yeah, that's something from a previous episode I had fat
Nice.
fingered. How you doing, my friend?
Doing good.
Sweet. And joining us this evening, we have Chris from the Mount Molehill podcast.
We are cooking with gas now. I love it. It's in the movie next.
How's it going, brother, man?
Good. Was that the Jordan Peele Gremlins 2?
It was.
Yeah, I never really watched that show, but I have seen that, and I do fucking love it because I love Gremlins 2.
Yeah, I'm reminded about it every few months, and I just recently was, so I pulled a couple fun sound bites from that particular skit's top 3 for sure. How you been, man?
Not too bad.
So you let the hair grow out. God damn, it has been a while. We're all looking a little worse for wear here.
We were watching a movie from the 70s called The Jericho Mile, which is a Michael Mann made-for-TV movie.
It looks mantastic.
About some guy that's in prison and is like really good at, I can't remember if it was like the mile. I think he was running a mile. Yeah, it's in the title of the fucking movie. Jericho Mile.
Is the Jericho Mile like a special mile? Like it's 1.6 miles?
Now I get it.
I think the prison was called Jericho or something like that. And she was like, the main character has like that 70s, like the hair every white blonde guy, like Mark Hamill in the first Star Wars,
right?
And a mustache. And she was like, you need to grow out your hair and so you can look. I'm like, that's not what my hair looks like. My hair is wavy, so I can grow it out all I want. It's not going to look like that. And it doesn't.
So this is to prove.
Well, you're giving it a shot.
Yeah,
Nice.
well, also the thing is when my hair gets this long, it's like I kind of need her help to cut it because you can't really just take the clippers to it when it's this long. I mean, you can, but it can fucking hurt.
It almost it looks like you got a little like a young Charlie Bronson thing going on, honestly.
Oh man,
I'm keeping it now.
Look at that smile. What a compliment.
All right. Well, yeah, this is kind of on the whim, or I mean, we don't really do our bag isn't really brand new shit, but I had been overhyping this movie for myself for the last 3 months probably, and I thought it might be fun to just check something out brand new. And I thought Steve might be into it, or I was curious to see what your response would be to this kind of funky crime thriller type of a flick. So here we are. I think it's been. Did you go opening night or shortly thereafter? It's been about a week to let it simmer, Steve.
Yeah, I went. I think like 4 or 5 days ago. I don't know exactly when it came out, but
okay.
Yeah, because I knew nothing about this other than Nic Cage, and that's it.
Right on. So you had gone in not seeing any trailers or anything?
Nope, not a
whatsoever.
single thing.
Right on. We'll get into it, but I almost wish that's how I would have played it. But Chris, what about you? Did you get on the hype train for this one, or did you go in blind?
I saw it on Saturday the day after it came out. I didn't watch any of the trailers, but this thing had like a massive marketing campaign behind it, which I guess worked on me because like I actually knew it existed. Otherwise I wouldn't have. But I don't watch trailers typically, and a lot of it was just like the sort of marketing shit that I hate, like, oh, this is the actress's face when she saw Nicolas Cage for the first time, and she was truly, legitimately scared. Like, that's all just like fake marketing bullshit that annoys me, but relatively not knowing what it was about.
Do you guys remember when that Smile movie first came out a couple years ago, and they did a bunch of that, like, they would send them to sporting events, and the camera would just like pan over, and there's just these people, with that crazy...
when the chick was right behind home plate, and she's just sitting there doing the fucking smile.
No, I actually missed that. I don't remember that at all. I've seen the movie. It sucked, but...
Yeah,
it was horrible. It was horrible. It's funny, the sequel actually looks like it. I'm actually engaged by the sequel, which is kind of funny. It doesn't, even though it's like a cash grab thing, it looks pretty intriguing. But they went pretty ham for the marketing on that too. I think the one you're talking about, Chris, is like it reminded me kind of on the heels of The Fourth Kind. It felt very like Fourth Kindy, like they had Micah Monroe, the lead actress, like hooked up like her heart rate. Like this was her heart rate the first time she
that's
had
what
to
it was.
sit across
even
from Nic
worse.
Cage in the interrogation room, and then like they said something like her resting heart rate's like 96 beats per minute.
Maybe she just has angina or something.
Yeah, if her resting heart rate is 96, she's got
or
real
whatever
problems.
it was. Yeah, whatever it was. I mean, it could have been in norms, but then it's like when she sat down with Nic Cage, it shot up to 165, like shit like that. Yeah, I don't really go for that, but just, I mean, I like trailers. I'm a big let's get to the fucking movies early. Let's take it all in, the whole spectacle of the whole thing. Like if I'm gonna be there,
I do
let's
that
make
too,
it
but it seems like the trailers I see before movies are composed solely of things I would never fucking watch.
Yeah, I get so impatient. Like I even
Fast
looked at
13.
I looked at my phone during the previews for this one because it was like 28 minutes solid of previews. I'm like, let's fucking get to it, please.
I get there early enough to see Maria Menounos talk about some TV show I'll never watch.
Yeah.
That's how, like, a couple of years ago, she was doing something on The Walking Dead, and I was like, holy shit, that show is still on? What the fuck?
Yeah, I think it just ended like pretty recently, like last year.
Did you guys happen to have the pleasure of the pre-trailer garbage, like mini programming where the gal sat down with two of the stars of the new Twisters and was interviewing them about?
No.
Oh my god!
No,
it was
thank God.
It was the worst like mini interview you can imagine. I won't even torture you with the details, but it was so fucking painful. Yeah, it was painful.
Yeah, luckily what we have around here that we go to is Regal, and their chicken shit, like Regal themed preview programming is pretty minimal. So I tip my hat to them for that. Okay, cool. Let's get into this thing. And I guess too, like, I think this film is probably going to be the one that breaks me for like buying into trailers beforehand, because I had overhyped the living shit out of this thing in my own mind. So that's on me. But I thought it was going to be something different, or at least I think I wanted something different out of it. And I think I'm going to just save myself in the future by going in blind as much as possible wherever I can avoid stuff. Steve, what'd you think of this one?
This is not a good movie. I liked the first maybe sixth of it. I felt like it had a pretty cool foundation, but then it really didn't take long to really go sideways, and it just could not correct, in my opinion. And then the final third, I was just like, I'm so out that we're not pulling out of this nosedive. But I thought Nic Cage was awesome. I liked the aesthetic, like the cinematography. I thought was pretty cool all the way through.
Mm-hmm.
There was a couple scenes that were like really cool, but overall, I just thought it was like it's like a hot dog of other horror movies where they just picked like cool elements from other better movies and were like, let's chop this in here and let's take some pig lips and ears and little pieces of like other good horror movies and just sort of rip it off and then smash it all together. And yeah, curious what you guys think.
Chris, what do you think?
I thought it was good. I might even go so far as to say it's very good, but I think it is also very flawed. So, I mean, that's kind of just the general feelings I have about it.
Yeah, we'll get into it more. I think I'm probably somewhere in between the two of you, maybe on the higher side towards Chris, but I was very split on this movie for sure, especially getting right out of the theater. And then I went with my wife and we started talking about it. She was definitely more on Steve's side, like was like, fuck that. And we kind of hemmed and hawed about it. She kind of brought me back to her a little bit, but I think overall it goes back to me overhyping it. I feel like if I would have gone in with maybe not lowered expectations, but just not this deluge of the marketing and the different trailers, and like they had like a background like website like in old like HTML style called like the birthdayMurders.net that I was looking at, and like I was really getting psyched for it, and I thought it was going to be something different, and I wanted it to be.
When the movie ended, my significant other said that was fucking dumb. So
you guys have some smart ladies in your life.
Mixed reviews all around, I think.
Yeah, I feel like that's this guy's thing. Like if you look back at his catalog, it's like a lot of his stuff is like love it or hate it. There's no real middle ground, but I would say it's good overall. But I wanted it to be something else. So I think that's why I don't feel like the level of good that I should, if that makes sense. But I did really like this guy's previous, I don't think it was right before this, but he made a film. Also, this dude is Anthony Perkins' son of Psycho fame.
Mm-hmm.
he did a film called The Black Coat's Daughter, which I feel like it might be split, but I've seen a lot of hate towards it too about how it's super slow and like boring and doesn't go anywhere. That one really worked for me. Something about the mood of that one, and it's very similar in like theme, like devil, occult, possession. Like it's very bleak. I really like that one a lot, and I'm curious to hear. Have you ever seen that before, Chris?
No, I've only heard good things about it. The only other movie of his that I've seen is the one before this, Gretel and Hansel, which I really, really disliked.
Really?
Yeah. And that has prevented me from like going back and seeing any of his other films. I think if Nicolas Cage was not in this movie, I would not have seen it just based on his previous film.
Yeah, that was one I saw the preview of, and I was like, that looks awesome. And then it got pretty reviled at the theater. So I was like, yeah, maybe I'll keep it for streaming. And I just have never come back to it. Yeah, I would, if you think this is good to very good, I think you would, I think you'd get a kick out of Black Coat's Daughter. But at any rate, so I won't go down that thread because there was gonna be many possibly spoilers in that thread. But one thing I did like a lot, I guess I'll start with some good, is like how you said, Steve, the technical aspects of the film, cinematography, like the setting, some of the shots, like I don't know what the fuck it's called, but a few of the shots where they're behind the characters and like the way the camera was moving, I really fucking liked that a lot. Like the colors, the composition, I guess, of the film looked fucking really great. It kind of reminded me, I know it's getting, compared to Silence of the Lambs and Seven and all these things. Like I got
version of both of those. Go on.
Yeah, but like the technical aspects, I was getting some of that, even a little bit of Zodiac, even though
shittier version of that. Go on.
Right. Like notwithstanding the code and all that stuff, just kind of like the feel, the look of it. I really enjoyed that.
Yeah, other than like having a female FBI agent, I really don't think it's that similar to Silence of the Lambs at all.
Yeah, I think it's a slap in the face to that film. I've heard people saying that and then watched it and I was like, no, don't do that.
A friend of mine brought up that it's actually more like Manhunter, and I totally agree with that after seeing it.
Wow.
Yeah, I could
see that.
Yeah, I could also see the comparison to Silence of the Lambs, though. Like, super meek female FBI agent who's sort of getting helped along by, this other villain to solve the thing. Because obviously Longlegs is helping her figure this thing out, which doesn't make any sense to me. But this main character really annoyed the shit out of me because she has that quality of being on the verge of tears and a panic attack at all times, which really fucking bugs me. And it's like a mix of Gwenta, you'll love this, like a mix of Clarice Starling and Upham from Saving Private Ryan, like just always on the verge of a meltdown. And it's like, I don't believe that this person could go through all the FBI training and just constantly be on the verge of tears all the time.
That was definitely one of my issues with it too. Like, I don't think Micah Monroe had a bad performance, but I think it was very difficult to understand the motivation for why she was playing it that way. And also, like Steve said, it's like you wouldn't be a field agent in the FBI if like you can't talk to people and look them in the eye.
Yeah, she was very robotic, especially like I think it's showcased when she's sitting there talking to her boss's daughter, Ruby. Like she's like very yeah.
She's like, is it scary being a female thing? She's like, yeah.
Yes. Dude, I felt that when in the beginning, I mean, spoilers abound here, so it's a brand new fucking movie. The beginning when they're tracing that unrelated killer, whoever the fuck he was.
Yeah.
Like after her partner gets killed and she's going through that house, the way she's breathing and going in, like I felt like it was channeling. And I was like,
don't call for backup too, for sure. Just barge into a house where a guy just shot your partner in the head.
Yeah,
heavy breathing is a pet peeve of mine in movies because I just don't like hearing it. That's just me though. That's like a stupid idiosyncratic nitpick.
It wasn't just the heavy. It was like the cadence and like how skinny she is, and you can see
it's like squirrel breathing, where you can just see like.
I felt like a snake was constricting me, like I was with her during that part. But any hoodles.
Well, yeah, and I love how they tell you like, oh, she's a psychic, and then it's like not really ever to be spoken of again after that.
So,
after her.
I didn't like that.
That was one of the things that since that friend I mentioned earlier was talking about how it's more like Manhunter. He said that before I had seen the movie. So when I saw that part of the film where it's like she's kind of psychic, I didn't really take it as being psychic or supernatural. I thought it was more like a Will Graham, like how he's such an empath, it almost seems like supernatural to us, but she just like she's so intuitive that it seems supernatural, but it actually isn't.
That's an interesting take. I like that.
But I think
she's like,
later on it's like, yeah, it's supernatural.
Because she's like, yeah, he's in that house. And then when she does her little training thing, she's like, I passed it 8 times and failed it 8 times. Like, what are you trying to convey to me right now with this?
Yeah, I feel like she's being more of a realist about it, but the movie wants to make it supernatural. And I was kind of, by the end, I was like, I wish they wouldn't have gone that hard into the supernatural. I wish they would have played it more straight, like story-wise in the world. Because by the end, in this world, there's supernatural shit. The devil is real or whatever. Like there's possessions, there's the smoke out of these balls. Like that stuff, I was like, well, it didn't do it for me.
Yeah, it really turned me off too, because it's I don't know, it's just such like an easy out, like, because if you're going to compare it to like Silence of the Lambs or Seven or something like that, it's like, oh, there's a cool resolution, where in this one it's like, it's the devil. I'm like, oh fuck, all right, well just fuck me. That just you could just attribute everything to supernatural devil. Cool. Moving on. There's no cool like connecting of dots, like, oh yeah, we remember this guy from over there, and
so
it just seems cheap.
Yeah, that was probably like my biggest problem with it. So I see this a lot in like old Italian giallo films which are murder mysteries essentially. They usually go like one of 2 ways. One is they make it so obvious from the beginning who the killer is and why they do it that it's just like, why am I even watching this? Or they go the opposite way, where it's you get to the end and it's like, oh, it was this guy who has never been mentioned in the movie before. But when you're making a mystery, you have to give the audience enough to where they could possibly figure it out themselves. It's like a really hard balance to strike between not being too obvious and like, giving us those breadcrumbs. This one, there is not a single person was sitting there 2/3 into the movie going, yes, they put these balls in the doll heads and they dress up the mom like a nun and she infiltrates, and then the doll makes the dad kill the daughter and the wife. Like there's just no possible way that you could have guessed that. So it's like, as a mystery film, I just found it very unfulfilling because of that. And also, you should never have like a 20-minute like exposition dump at the end of the movie and then still people are confused after it.
Mm-hmm. There was almost like audible laughter in the theater I was in. Like people were almost looking at each other like, is this for real? Like it just I don't know.
It's like, imagine if you were watching like Snatch or Rock and Rolla, like one of those Guy Ritchie films. They always have that similar like denouement at the end. If suddenly like, oh yeah, Bullet Tooth Tony was putting balls in the heads of these dolls. It's like, what?
Yeah, there's no rewatchability to find clues. Like, oh yeah, I forgot about the the ball part early on that we didn't think about at the time. Like, no, it's just wasn't revealed until 82 minutes in.
I mean, to this film's credit, I'll go out on a limb and say maybe this will be fun. I'm curious to watch it a second or a third and fourth and fifth time.
Oh, God.
Because I like it enough that I will do that. And I've tried to stay away from message boards and even other podcasts that have covered it because I didn't want to dilute or influence like my take on it now. It was just me and my wife talking about it. But I feel like there's more here, like symbolism and like things that you can get into that aren't service level. That yeah,
Symbology.
And I like that kind of stuff too. But my gut reaction was like, that's not what I wanted. That's not what I thought I was in for, you know? So it might take some time. I might, hem and haw on it a little bit, but
were either one of you disappointed?
I think there's go ahead. Sorry.
Were either one of you disappointed when obviously the symbolism and like the Zodiac style messages I thought was going to play a much bigger part, and then immediately,
me too.
And then just immediately it's like, here's the cipher. Now that's immediate.
Like,
one of my biggest gripes.
It didn't annoy me
you
because
solved it immediately.
Yeah,
here you go.
The annoying part wasn't that I thought it was going to play a bigger role. The annoying part was that it was a simple substitution cipher that the FBI just couldn't crack.
Yeah,
and
I mean, even though we're in the
90s,
yeah, well, still though,
the Zodiac, the first letter was cracked by like 2 school teachers.
Yeah, exactly.
So the FBI can't do the same thing.
I mean, I wish it would have played a bigger part, and it would have been harder to crack. But I would have taken one of the two. Like just how it's like so easy, and how it almost seemed like she was. I'm of two minds because that's probably one of my favorite scenes in the film, but also like how like flippant and so like she is about, I can sit down and take my time and like fucking uncrease this card and sit here, and it's like he was just in your fucking house. You don't know. It's like, wait, what? Go take this to a secured location and then fucking nerd out on it. I was like, no. I was like, because you were so creeped out just now, as was I. But now you're just gonna just chill out and crack this fucking. Yeah, it's weird because I really loved it, but hated that scene at the end, like how quickly she just lines everything up. But that was probably I know it's been called super scary and all this, and you're gonna shit out of your mouth watching it in the fucking theater, but it wasn't that. But that was very creepy, that scene when she gets the knock at the door and sees the figure and then goes out, and then you see in the background in her house, like that was very cool.
Well, it's like she's afraid when she thinks somebody's outside creeping around, and then she's less afraid when she comes back in and sees the letter, like, okay, definitely somebody was in here. Now it's time to crack the code. Yeah. Like, I would have been the opposite.
Yeah, your name's on it, and she even and the ink isn't dry yet. It's like, dude. But whatever. Yeah, that was a big gripe, is like how quickly, and I thought there would be some more of that in the film, like let's get into Zodiac mode. Like there be more letters, and like let's do a little bit more detective work. I thought I could have used another like half hour in this film.
Like even if it was a total distraction,
yeah, fine.
Like he gives her the key to decode it, but only to like shift her focus away. I thought like, okay, well maybe this isn't going to be as bad as I thought. I also thought, when she did the like overly dramatic layout of everything and all the evidence, when Blair Underwood, who I liked his character a lot, Carter, was that his name? Carter?
Yeah, he was great.
Yeah.
When he's like, what's the connection? She's like, they all have kids whose birthdays are on the 14th. Like, no one would ever fucking make that connection in my mind. I don't know. Maybe that's not the case, but I was like, that seems like a really bizarre connection between all the victims, but
I mean, she seemed kind of like savantish a little bit. Like I could have bought that. Like her, like, you know, how he's like, don't go too deep, you know, and she's falling asleep looking at all the evidence. Like I could see her making that. That's fine with me.
like Ben Affleck in the Accountant. She's got a touch of the tism.
Possibly. I haven't seen that film.
It's not bad.
All right.
It's corny as shit. But
I was surprised to see Blair Underwood in this. I really liked him a lot. I mean, I don't know him from a bunch other than a little film called Just Cause.
Oh, I thought you were going to say Crush Groove.
No. I think that's a little too old for me. I've never seen that. I don't know that outside of the Dogma reference. So, but yeah, he's great in Just Cause with Sean Connery and Lawrence, Don't Call Me Larry Fishburne.
Yeah, I liked him. I mean, I don't think there was not an actor or actress in this that I didn't think did a good job. I don't have any problem with any of the acting in it, really.
At first, I was like the mom, Alicia Witt. I could go either way on her. But then the more I thought about it, and I watched it a second time today, not stoned on a shitty phone camera up on my phone, I was like, I think this is what she was given, is what rubbed me a little raw or made me feel like that. Like, I feel like they tipped their hand with her a little too early. Like, did you still say your prayers? And like, she was a little, I wish they could have like reined that in and made her more, like feel a little bit more stable for longer. Cause like right away, she gave me kind of like the heebie-jeebies.
yeah.
In that first phone call, I was like, what's going on here? I feel like they tipped their hand a little bit too much right there, but fuck, we haven't even talked about Nic Cage in this yet. Sounds like you guys were both fans of his performance in this.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Yeah, it was way over the top and ridiculous, and yeah, it was awesome.
It was weird. I wasn't expecting, like, I kind of felt it too, but there were like audible like giggles and like chuckles. I don't know if it was like maybe just like a relief valve on some of the stuff he was doing for the audience, given how like maybe heavy or dark the movie seemed, but I definitely noticed a lot of like kind of funny like knee-jerk giggles at his maybe look, or when he's in the car and does the mommy, the daddy, like
yeah,
and like some of the like his intonation of that character. But yeah, I found him pretty fucking creepy, especially right out of the gate.
I mean, that's what you call Nicolas Cage in for, is to have like just this completely like unself-conscious performance, because it works out a lot of time. In this case, I think it did. Sometimes it fails in some of his movies, but he has that ability to just like, you know, throw what other people are going to think about him out the window and just like do what he thinks he should do.
Yeah, he's awesome. One thing I didn't get as like a plot point was he basically comes forward to foil his own plan, right? Like if he didn't come forward to give her the key to the cipher, like all of this undoing is his own. I just don't understand that. Like,
yeah, I was thinking about that, and I was like, maybe he was just like done. Maybe he was like trying to pass the torch or something. Because that fell a little flat for me too, especially how like when it seems like she's cracked it, and then he gives himself up, basically, ostensibly, when he goes out to the bus stop after that creepy interaction at like the hardware store or whatever the fuck store that was, and the cuckoo, which was awesome. That weird guy's here again, or that gross guy's here again.
That's one of my favorite. Not the hardware store scene, but that one is really good. One of my favorite, like, almost laughable sequences is when I can't remember which scene they're at, but she like decodes the message, and Blair Underwood's like, "You know a little more than you think, right?" and then she's like, "Oh yeah, I do know this guy. I've known him my whole life. He lived in my basement. I have a picture of him." And then 10 seconds later, the manhunt is over. Like, wait.
Yeah, so that was one of the things I was talking to other people about. Did you guys see that as a reveal, or did you just assume that she was the girl in the beginning from the start of the movie? Because I definitely was just like, oh yeah, she saw him when she was a kid, like right from the beginning.
I wasn't sure because when they started talking about the family farm, I can't remember what it was called. I wasn't sure if the agent was the girl from that, or if the girl from the beginning was the girl from the farm. I was a little unclear if it was one or the other, but yeah.
Oh, the shaved head girl, Kiernan Shipka.
Yeah, but then when they went to go see her, it's pretty obvious it was two different people.
Yeah, my wife likes to make me feel really dumb because I don't know what it is about the theater. Maybe it's a cop out, but when I go to the theater, I kind of like just strap in and let the movie wash over me. I don't like to like guess and like think about it the way I do when I'm at home. Maybe I'm just dumb and that's my cop out. But yeah, my wife, there's a couple points she's like, "Oh, you didn't get that from," I'm like, "No, I was absorbing the fucking movie." So,
well, I mean, I think that's kind of the mark of a good film, because if it can take you out of that mindset to where you're trying to solve everything, like that's like a mark of being engrossed in it, right?
Okay, I like that explanation. I'm gonna run with that. I didn't see that coming at all. The only time, and it's way past that point, is when you have that shot from like that upstairs angle when you see the front door of her house, and it's like, oh shit, yeah, this is her now. But it's like way after the fact, I didn't call that or was like looking to that anywhere near the beginning.
I don't know what it was, because I wouldn't say that I called it. For whatever reason, I just thought that we were to understand that was her.
Yeah. I think if anything, I was like, is this the camera girl? The camera family? Is that her maybe? But then I just kind of put it out of my mind.
This might just be me, but I found that to be that part I could not get out of my own head about. I found it to be so distracting. Like the girl that survived. So if I remember correctly, they're like, the girl that survived, that happened in like the early to mid 60s or something.
I can't remember the dates.
Which would mean she is supposed to be older than Micah Monroe, but in real life, she is 7 years younger. And I think even beyond that 7-year gap, she's just a person that looks young. So during that scene,
they cast her in Sabrina as like a high schooler.
Yeah, I was like why the fuck is this person who's like 40 look younger than this agent? I don't know, if I haven't heard anyone else complain about that. It might just be me, but I was just like, what? Like, just throw some wrinkles on her, at least do something.
Yeah,
I didn't zero in on that date at all. But yeah, like you say, she is a very like just youthful looking person in general, so maybe that goes against it. But I know Oz Perkins likes her a lot because she's in Black Coat's Daughter as well, and she fucking kills it in that film too. But yeah, I remember watching that Sabrina miniseries on Netflix, and she was like, I looked it up because she's playing like a high schooler, and she was like 29 or like 32 or something playing. So I mean, she's just one of those youthful looking souls, is what I chalked it up to, I guess. But yeah, when you if you put dates to it, if she's supposed to be like 40 or 41 or 42 there.
Yeah, I don't know exactly, because like obviously you're watching it in a theater, you're not fucking taking notes, but I'm like 75% sure she's supposed to be older than Micah Monroe.
Yeah, because she was a kid in the 70s, because they say it's like 20 years later.
It's supposed to be around like 94 or something.
Well, yeah, and the gal in the institution, I forget her name, that preceded that by like 10 years. So yeah, it would obviously have to be in the 60s.
Because she had like Nixon on the wall or something in her house. So it's definitely like they're either the same age or she's like older. This is not important at all. I don't know why I keep talking about it.
I think the thing with her that I had was it just kind of threw a wrench into everything else that was going on, because then I was thinking, well, with all the doll shit, and I was like, okay, so she's catatonic until they discover the doll, and then she's not. Why? And then when they destroy the ball in the brain, then she commits suicide. Okay, I can see that, but why did she wake up from her catatonia?
Why did she escape in the first place?
What's her face, or what's his face? Longlegs went to go see her. Maybe so he did some spell conjuring, like knowing it was part of his plan. Okay, I just worked it out for myself there, but I didn't like the way she was talking either, putting S's at the end of shit, like that weird like slang she was speaking. I didn't care for that.
Yeah, it was weird.
Also, the way Micah Monroe was talking in this, it was like she had like a Philadelphia or like a Delco accent, but she was also like she had like marbles or like gravel in her mouth. Like some of the way words were rolling off of her speech was weird, because she doesn't talk like that in other films. I was like, why was that? I was wondering what the inspiration behind that could have been. Did you guys pick up on that at all? Like the way she was saying shit was just a little. It felt like
not really. I
weird.
didn't. I just like other than like the general like nervousness and yeah.
Her character, everything about her just was really annoying to me. To be honest.
I like her a lot. I'm a big, as you know, It Follows fan. So she's been in.
No one's perfect. So
yeah, she was really good in. I don't know if it's called The Watcher. I think it's just Watcher. A couple years ago, I think it was just a Netflix movie, but really creepy. She was great in that, and she's really good in a fucking movie with what is it, The Guest, with Dan Stevens. That's a really cool movie. I liked it a lot. She was great in that. So, yeah, I'm a big Micah Monroe fan. So this puts it what? So this is your second favorite behind It Follows now, Steve? Micah Monroe films?
Yeah, sure.
Let's see.
Yeah, I will say, it was already circling the drain for me, and then when the doll shit came out, I was like, God damn, we're just another derivative, huh? All right, guess we're just gonna take another thing. And then when the metal ball came out, I was like, holy fuck, it doesn't make any sense. But then, just fall back on, hey, the devil. I'm like, oh, okay, cool.
I was with it for a second when they scanned it. He had that weird fucking scanner, and he went and he scanned the ball, and it had this weird interference, and then she has like these snapshots of fucking like slithering snakes, and like the tech or I don't know who he was, if he was like a coroner or
I think he was like a
FBI doll expert.
Yeah, the creepiest guy of all time, the FBI doll expert,
the chief dollogist. Yeah, how he's
you
like,
could just leave that behind. I'll take care of it.
I'll clean this up. When he scanned it, he's like, yeah, I heard it reminded me of my ex-wife, or it kept saying my ex-wife's name or something. Like later on, you're to get that, like, oh, that she must have been an evil bitch, or he really hated her or something, like, because
or
it's
just
it spews negativity or something.
Yeah, the metal sphere is the devil's influence. It's like, well, then why do you even need the doll? Why do you even need the sphere?
Yeah,
it's the vessel.
This movie takes place in Oregon, right?
Yeah.
Or Oregon.
Is there any other Oregon-based horror movies involving silver balls that us three may have talked about on this podcast?
Dude, that's the one thing this movie was missing, was fucking Reg, man. I could have used an infusion of Reggie.
Mike. What's the movie you're talking about?
Phantasm 2.
Oh.
So I think that this actually could fit into the Phantasm universe. Because in Phantasm 2, they're in the town of Perigord, Oregon.
Oh,
Obviously,
shit, that's right.
The silver ball connection, that's there. But in the third Phantasm, it's revealed that the silver balls are filled with the brains of the people that the tall man kills. So, and the timelines add up. Phantasm 2, I think, takes place in 1986. This is in 1994. I don't think we ever really see the town that Micah Monroe grew up in. So, for all we know, she grew up on the outskirts of Perigord, Oregon, where the tall man had already come through. And Nicolas Cage, like, if you're a devil worshiper, you see the devil and everything. So maybe he just thought the tall man was the devil, and he's just like some weird tall man acolyte that's trying to do like silver ball experiments after the tall man has moved on from Perigord, Oregon.
Wow.
I can dig it. This is an extension of the Coscarelli verse.
Yeah.
That would make more sense than what was presented in this. So
took her to Silver Ball. Play some video games or something. Yeah, dude, I wish that would have been cool to have Reggie in this. Just pop up right in the end.
Use a 4-barrel shotgun once and throw it away.
The cool fucking angles on it, and it's just like, yeah.
Which also, at the end scene, why doesn't she just shoot the fucking doll? Like, she now knows that that's how you stop it.
She did.
Well, I think she tried, but
after he fucking killed his wife.
Dude, that was so infuriating. She went there, and he's like, "We're gonna go have a chat in the kitchen." Like, he's about to kill his wife. You can go ahead and stop him at any time. And he even says something like, "I'll be right back." She won't be, but I'll be right back. It's like, feel free to stop him at any time.
Yeah, she says we'll be right back, and he's like, I'll be right back. You'll still be in the kitchen. I was like, Jesus Christ. See, this is what makes me think this is a little bit too surface level. Like, I think there's something else going on, because that's the knee jerk. That's the surface level, is like, yeah, you know what's going to happen right now. You know exactly what's happening. Bullet in his head.
God. Where are we
bullet
going?
in the doll's head. She doesn't do anything. She lets it happen. That's why I was sitting there. I was like, this is too... There's got to be something else going on, because this is too surface level. For everything that we've gotten to this point, it's like she knows exactly what's happening. She just sits there like frozen, locked up, and lets it happen. The wife gets killed. She hears it happen. Is it just that? Is it she's just frozen up, and like it? That pissed me off. It did piss me off.
What's your theory?
Me?
Yeah.
Fuck, I don't know. It pissed me off. I can't explain it, so it pissed me off. And it's like,
I thought you had some crazy explanation, like, no, she's actually still in the silver ball, dude, and this is a projection, and she's actually the devil, and her
one thing I was thinking is like, okay, one thing I was thinking was the fucking the other FBI agent she shows up at her parents' house with, or her mom's house, that gets blasted with the shotty.
Yeah, that part was
twice.
Awesome, by the way.
That was awesome. It was brutal in that it felt very fucking real, like jarringly. Like, you see shotgun blast, machine gun blast dime a dozen in any action film, and it's like, fuck yeah, Die Hard, whatever. In that, it was like arresting, especially the second one when she comes around the other side. Like, it almost felt like you felt the kick on that shotgun when she... something about that, yeah, was very... It was weird how you can be desensitized in action films and all this, and then see that. It just... I'm glad I wasn't the only one. So she shoots her twice, and then the mom shoots the doll of Micah Monroe, and then the gas comes out and all that bullshit. So that's 3, right? And it looks like Micah Monroe has a 6-shooter, pistol, has a round barrel. I'm not a gun guy.
Yeah, that was one.
She shoots 3 shots in the house. She shoots Blair Underwood twice, and then shoots the mom once in the head. And then she shoots 3 times, click, 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 trying to blow up the silver ball in the doll to break the curse or whatever the fuck. So my kooky thing was like, what if it was all in her head? I know that's not novel, like, but I could see like a film doing that, like this. Like, what if it was all in her head? And what if she's like fucked up? You know, like it's like Fight Club, Tyler Durden, like she was the fucking killer. What if, you know, she killed that agent twice or shot twice, and then I guess it wouldn't explain one bullet.
I did think it was
maybe
weird
she put 2 it.
that,
I don't know. That was my first thought when I was like on the drive home thinking about it more. I was like, maybe it was in her head, and that's why like she was still tricked in her own mind, and she tried to shoot the doll head, and it just clicked because she had already spent those rounds. But that doesn't really do anything for me either. Like, I don't know where to go with that. Like,
I did think it was weird because the entire movie, she had some sort of like black semi-auto handgun with a magazine.
right. And then later she has the
like,
6-shooter.
Where the fuck did this revolver come from? I
Right.
thought that was weird. And so, yeah, maybe it could be like when her doll got shot, she died, and then this is like some weird hallucination.
We're in purgatory.
Hallucination by the mom or whatever. But yeah, because you don't really get misfires in a revolver, like, because in a semi-automatic, not to get too like gun heavy, but there's like the slide goes back, it ejects the old one, and it inserts the new one. With a revolver, it just turns. You know, that's kind of one of the benefits is they don't jam because there's no mechanism to actually jam. So for her to have 3 misfires, I don't know. It does suggest sort of, oh, maybe it's just a devil. It's a devil. That's why.
Yeah.
Case closed.
Yeah, I wish there was more. I wish we would have got more with Cage. Like, fly on the wall with him, like what he's doing, like a little bit more like motive or backstory or something with him. Like, how did he get influenced by this supernatural? Like, and is it even the devil? Is it like maybe a lesser demon or something, like
the tall
Bale
man?
or like fucking Mephisto? Tall man, thank you.
Or maybe maybe the mom was actually the devil pulling the strings the entire time, and he was just the guy downstairs.
Yeah, I just don't need scenes of him listening to T-Rex and making dolls. Like, I'm fine with what we got from him.
I need more.
Something of him tucking his sack back and saying he'd fuck himself.
Yeah.
I did like the interview with him and the like when he's talking in that like fucking like that weird like high pitched like kind of Tiny Tim weird voice, you know, like happy birthday, dude. That's one thing. Echolalia, fuck. I've been just chanting around and like annoying the living piss out of my wife is saying happy birthday Lee Harker. Like that is stuck in my brain. But when he shifts from that and then he goes dark and like he goes low and he's talking about like the dirty work and like, and then when he says you got to clean it like a mop, like a rag, like dude, that shit was fucking creepy. And then he goes back up high, you know, and he's got that whole, I got Tiny Tim right away. I was like, yeah, all this guy needs is a fucking ukulele. Yeah, I wish we would have got more of him, honestly, is another gripe or just thing I wish we would have gotten out of this was a little bit more of him.
Yeah, well, I think with the story, there's not much more to show because he doesn't actually do anything except build dolls and listen to glam rock. Like, he doesn't kill anyone.
I know. I wish they would have explored that a little bit more.
Presumably he did before he like onboarded the mom
to
help him out. But it's like nobody is fucking accepting a doll from this motherfucker if he comes up to their house.
Yeah, the creepiest looking motherfucker of all time. Yeah, I mean, I was thinking too, like Longlegs immediately, like Daddy Longlegs, and then like Micah Monroe doesn't have a dad, ostensibly, not in the picture. How does she fit into all this? She was going to be a victim
Yeah.
of Longlegs, so like I was like, oh, it's her dad, and there's something there. To which immediately, like my wife was like, no, that's fucking stupid. Don't talk about that on the pod. I was like, why?
I
was
mean,
like,
I think that there's definitely something there. I mean, I don't think we are the three people to like really get into this, but I think there is a lot of like shades of like child abuse in this, of like this creepy dude coming in, and then like the mom is sort of turns a blind eye to it, and in fact lets him live in the fucking basement.
Yeah.
And
it's like, how do you not know? You never went down to the basement your whole life. There's a lot of like, I don't know what that is, like survivors or just like disassociating or blocking out.
I think when you kind of like think of things through that lens, like maybe her weird behavior sort of makes sense. Maybe her freezing at the end is like a trauma response. I mean,
what about this? Because I thought it was funny whenever she called her mom, she's like, "Hi, Mom," and she's like, whatever her first name is,
Lee.
Lee, and she's like, "Yes, Mom, your only child. What if Longlegs was her other kid, and the dad was the devil?" And the mom got nervous every time, and she's like, "Hey, Mom," and she's like, "Oh fuck, is it Lee?" Like, yeah, obviously this is your only kid. She's like, "Oh, thank God, you're not the psycho weirdo who's been living in the basement."
Yeah. Yeah, I think, you know, how against it you seem. Like I'm definitely going to give this another shake, probably a couple shakes down the road, and like then do like a deeper dive and kind of like troll the Reddit boards and kind of look and try to dismantle it, just because I want something more out of it, and I'm not one of those people like that's smart enough to pick up on the symbolism and like some of the Easter eggs. Maybe there's some shit in there like that I missed on the first couple watches, and so I'll give it that, like to the film's credit. Like I think there's something more there that I'm just not intelligent enough to be able to harvest from it. But
one of the things I wanted to ask you guys about is chapter titles in movies.
Not a fan.
No, I mean, it reminded me of Kill Bill 1 and 2.
Yeah.
And I really liked it in that movie. Like, it didn't bug me at all. But in this one, I had actually forgotten that they did that. So I don't.
Yeah, so
neither here nor
clearly
there.
It was very necessary to include it.
Yeah.
That's a good point.
It's like, yeah, Quentin Tarantino, certainly not the first person to do it, but I feel like since The Hateful Eight, it's like any movie that is artsy or like has higher aspirations, like they just throw chapter titles into it with like not really any sort of intent behind it.
Yeah.
I personally like don't think it's ever necessary in a movie. I think, you know, maybe this Oz Perkins just did it for like stylistic, aesthetic reasons, which is fine. I don't really like that, but it's like the point of chapters in books is because you go through them in like a non-linear fashion.
Yeah.
That is not the case in movies. Like you don't you don't need to signal to the audience like, oh, this next scene happens at a different point in time, like, because that's part of the language of film. Like we all understand, we don't watch a scene where, you know, Lee's at the hospital and then the next scene she's at the FBI office, and we're not, as the audience, we're not like, holy shit, how the fuck did she get there? We all understand that like she drove there, this could be the next day. So I feel like having chapter titles in movies that ostensibly serve that function in books, like you don't ever need it in a movie.
Yes.
Yeah, it seemed a little pretentious, but I went with it given like maybe it was like an overall style choice. The way, in the same way, like I'm not really a big fan of like, passages or, like verses or written, like how at the beginning we get some lyrics from a T-Rex song. Like, so I thought it fit in with, how he has that. And then he has the weird, that square camera aspect for the old times. And then it zooms back out to the widescreen ratio. And then he's got chapters. And then at the end, doing the fucking bottom up crawl, which I've never seen before. I just thought, okay, whatever. That's like a style choice, but it felt a little pretentious to me. Whereas that was a good point about Kill Bill. I'm fine with it in that, or I guess I would even say I like it in that because that feels pretty episodic, and you have such a larger cast of characters and things going on, whereas this is like you're trained on
it's
three
one
or four
continuous
people.
story.
Yeah, and
Where in Kill Bill, it's like each chapter is a different target of
right
revenge. Anyway,
Yeah, not really a Tarantino fan, but like when I'm thinking of Kill Bill, it's like I can kind of see it because parts of the story are completely like siloed off from other parts. Like she's training in China.
Right.
So I can kind of get like why you might break something like that. Also, I mean, if
it's Japan.
It's Japan. I've only seen it once.
Wow, you're missing out.
But also it's like that's like what, 6 hours or something? Because it's all like it's basically one movie. It's like 4 to 6 hours.
Yeah, and it's like 5 or 6 separate people on the kill list that are in different, parts of the world, and it makes sense to kind of split it up like that instead of. I don't even remember what the chapters were in this movie. The first one was the letters.
I think it was like the letters, and I don't remember the others. Because my shitty camera.
Yeah, it wasn't necessary for keeping the viewer up to date. Like, oh, okay, yeah, we're still watching the same movie. Thank God for the reminder.
Yeah, I'm just glad I'm not the only one that feels that way.
Yeah, I guess it didn't like stick out to me. I was just like, all right.
It's not like super offensive, but it does like, it feels like ticking a box of like, I'm making an elevated horror movie, so I have to do all of those things that Jim just mentioned. Otherwise, people might think this is just a Blumhouse movie, but no, this is better than that. Which it is better than that, but I don't think you necessarily need to do all those things to prove it to us.
Yeah, I was surprised. I thought I could have sworn this was an A24 production, and it was actually Neon. But I get on the whole, I mean, Neon has done a lot of like A24, of course, they get a lot of hype and buzz, but I think Neon's put out a lot of good shit in the last 5 or 8 years, 10 years. Like, what's another one? The RLRJ. You know what I'm talking about, Chris?
Goosebumps?
No. Or as my daughter likes to say, Boosgumps. What is that? I think it's RLJ Entertainment. Yeah, they did like Suitable Flesh, Arcadia, and The Dark and the Wicked. I guess those aren't the best examples, but I feel like them, Neon, A24, I guess to a lesser degree, or you could argue it like Blumhouse. They've been doing a lot for the horror scene in the last decade.
Damn, I'm just scrolling through their Neon's films, and it's if I've heard of it, I didn't like it.
Really?
Well, Parasite, I guess, was a good movie. Has something to do with Neon.
Possessor.
Yeah, that was
I like
pretty
Possessor
good.
quite a bit. Enter the Void. That was a long time ago, though. That's not a good example. Infinity Pool, Immaculate, Tatan.
Fuck no. Pig. That's a good one.
There you go. In the Earth. I like that one. Okay.
No idea.
The Beach Bum, Matthew McConaughey. I still haven't seen that. All right. Do you guys have anything else? I know we kind of breezed over this. We didn't really go through this point by point because I don't want to. But
I mean, do you guys have a more favorite scene? Because my favorite one was the interrogation where he bashes himself to death on the table. I mean, is there a better scene that you guys liked, or?
That was pretty brutal.
Probably just Nicolas Cage yelling to himself in the car.
Yeah. The mommy, daddy.
Yeah, I don't. There weren't really like too many like scenes that stuck out to me, other than maybe shotgun blasts.
Yeah,
I really liked the beginning in her like her Lincoln log cabin home in the Pacific Northwest, which was a really cool setting. I really liked her fucking pad. It was rad.
Lincoln log just activated in me. I don't know if you thought about this at all, Jim, but when she was doing that psychic test, I was just thinking of Blade Runner 2049, like cells interlinked.
Lincoln logs interlinked. Steve hasn't seen it. You haven't seen 2049, have you yet?
No, I haven't.
He won't unless you do it on this show.
Probably not. But
it's a pretty long runner.
I was thinking during that scene, like, oh god, I would, if we're doing just immediate word association, I would just say the most fucked up shit and feel really bad about it later.
She kind of did. Like, I feel like taken out of the context of the rest of the movie, everything she was saying made no sense to me. But I guess that's the point of such a test.
Well, one thing too that lends credence to the whole daddy, Longlegs being daddy, or Faja, Popo Jijo, when she's doing that word association, the triangle, she says dad. And then later on you see it's an algorithm, and she's linking all the birthdays and shit, and she makes a upside down triangle. That was the same image, and her first connotation was dad. So that jumped out to me too, lending credence to my dad, her Longlegs being dad theory. I really like that. That scene where she sees the shit, and the knock at the door was super creepy. Because I was in it, I was like, let's do it. You know, I wish I would have been stoned for that movie. That would have been awesome. And yeah, like that whole shotgun scene when she goes to the mom's house, because it's like she was like blended in behind. It was almost like camouflage, I feel like, because then when she just moves and she makes her way to the driver's side, it's like, oh fuck, dude, this chick's fucked. And then like the actual blast. But yeah, those are probably the two highlights for me. Did you already say yours, Steve?
Yeah, the interrogation.
Like your favorite scene? Interrogation.
Yeah.
Yeah, that I wish we would have got more.
Yeah, that little section just felt so rushed. Like you were saying earlier, Steve, like within a matter of minutes, she pulls a repressed memory out of her head, finds a picture, they arrest him, and he kills himself.
Yeah.
And also, too, she freezes up in that moment because she could have done something. She could have got up and, like, he has time to bash his head 3 or 4 times. She could have got up and restrained him, like, with her training and everything. She could have put a bullet in his shoulder. She could have done something in that moment. I feel like there was, like, enough dead space to where she could have kept him from killing himself via table. Head slam on table.
She could shoot him to death before he killed himself.
Well, no, like pop him in the knee or come around and fucking put him in a sleep-a-hold. He's going to sleep right now.
Get him in a blood choke.
Yeah. Get him in a fucking sharpshooter or something.
Because
Jesus.
wasn't one of the cops or agents who ran in like had a gun on him? Like, am I misremembering that? Because in my mind it reminded me of the Air Force guy a few weeks ago or months ago who set himself on fire outside the Israeli embassy, and there was cops who ran up and pointed their gun at him, and they're like, what the fuck are you expecting this guy to do? He's burning to death.
Yeah.
But they're just like, get on the fucking ground, and they've got their gun out. It's
Yeah.
like, he's on the ground, burning to death. What do you...
Burning alive. Woo, woo, here comes a meat wagon. Yeah, it's fucked up to laugh at that. That was brutal to see that. That was like, oh.
Well, yeah, and you
God.
saw, like, you could hear one of the other cops who's like, get a fucking fire extinguisher. You don't need a gun, dumbass.
Stop resisting
Yeah.
the fire. All right.
I did find a funny
So-
review, if I could share it with
Yeah,
you.
let's go for it.
So this was on Rotten Tomatoes, of all places. So keep that...
Rotten Tomatoes.
Yeah, so keep that in
Dan
mind.
Marino should die of gonorrhea and rot in hell. Would you like
Funny.
a cookie, son?
It's funny because it's from Rotten Tomatoes and it's from Daniel. And just think about how fucking unhinged you would have to be to put this review on Rotten Tomatoes. In all caps, it says, I wasn't able to watch the movie! ! There was a fire in the theater which made us evacuate, and I never watched it. Can I please get a refund for this? Asking that of RottenTomatoes.com.
I just can't do it. That's really the bottom line. I can't do it.
Jesus.
Isn't that
Who were you expecting to write back? Rotten Tomatoes?
Wouldn't that be on like something you send to like Regal?
Yeah.
Or
Here's
just
your-
ask the person at the theater
Or
Yeah. The theater,
that you're at.
the theater that burned down, and you're like, hey, Rotten Tomatoes, can I have my $9 back?
Oh boy. I guess real quickly, if there was one thing that you could do to put this movie over the top or make it better, what would you do? And why? If you feel like it. Steve.
I mean, it's tough to say one thing, but I would lean less on the supernatural stuff and sort of lean more into the like the crime thriller mystery solving side of it.
I think
know.
that's where I'm at too.
Because it's just such an easy out to be like, the devil.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I definitely agree. I think not necessarily the devil, but like there's kind of been a trend for like the past 5 years where there's like what I would call surprise Lovecraftian movies where they sort of play it straight until like the last 15 minutes. You're like, oh, this is some like eldritch horror that's been doing this the whole time. And it just really feels like they didn't know how to write an ending. So they're just going to do this thing that you can't question it because it's not real.
You can't explain it. Yeah.
Yeah. You can't explain it. You can't predict it.
Nice, dude. Twister. Hell yeah.
Bring it back to BP.
But yeah,
Rest in
I
peace,
think
shout out.
like we're getting at the
Unrealized.
point where it's like, it's the ballsier move to actually just make it a straightforward crime thriller because we got nothing but that for like 20 years with all of these like Along Came a Spider and like The Bone Collector or whatever the fuck any of those were. But now it's like we never get that. Even when it's a movie that seems like it's going to be that, it's actually Satan.
Yeah.
We are cooking with gas now. I love it. It's in the movie next.
I would say the one thing to put it over the top was just to get some other people in the writer's room. Like, I feel like we are like too much into the auteur theory and that like every movie has to be like a singular vision from one person. But the person who is good at directing is not necessarily the person who is good at cinematography or writing. Like a film is such a collaborative medium. I don't think that one person has to do everything. And I definitely feel like this could have benefited from having other people's writing input, even if they don't change it and say like, hey, it's supernatural. I feel like there is a better way to do it than to have a 20-minute plot dump at the end. There's got to be a better way to do it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, because it wasn't like exceptionally long. It's not like they really had to trim it down from like 2.5 hours or, you know.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I could have dealt easily with another 20, 30 minutes. I mean, fuck it, make it 2.5, make it Zodiac length, and let's get into some more of the like the nitty gritty and like the minutia. Like I would have loved that. That's what I guess I wanted, just more overall to make it super a generic rubber stamp. Is I just wanted more out of this, I suppose, but.
There's no backsies on that one, no penny taxis. Yes, 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 in the movie.
I probably sound like super negative, but I think it's like a 3.5 out of 5. I still think it's pretty good. I'm glad it was made, even though it's not necessarily for me. There's a lot of people out there that really do like it, and even though some of it may seem derivative, it's still better than getting like Halloween 14. I would rather this come out than that.
Yeah. Yeah, I guess when you zoom out a little bit and look at it from that perspective, yeah, I'm right on the same wavelength. Like I'm good with it. I just wanted more, and like I said too, I mean, it's on me too for overhyping, and I think it's gonna change the way like way I set my expectations and kind of like follow a movie, because I mean the amount of praise that's being heaped on this fucking thing too is like it seems pretty overkill, like
unrealized.
And I think it's starting to get I think it's starting to get tempered a little bit after more and more people have actually gone out and seen it. But you know, to your point, Chris, yeah, like I will take this over a fucking, you know, whatever the nth iteration of whatever horror franchise. I mean, he was trying to do something different. I think there are some vestiges and some ties to Blackcoat's Daughter, so I would implore you to check out Blackcoat's Daughter and see what you think. I've seen some interesting threads in the interplay between those two films, but I like what this guy Oz Perkins is doing in general. I'm looking forward to see more out of him. So yeah, that's been Longlegs. Any final thoughts? Anything we skipped over during the plot that was interesting or jumped out to you guys that you want to mention before we wrap this thing up?
No, I don't think so.
Right on.
No.
So this was a resounding no for you, Steve?
Yeah.
Put this in the loss column?
Yeah,
okay.
That's a no for me.
We're so far behind and we have banked episodes. I'm gonna wait till we get back to current, till we're on the level before we reevaluate what our approval rating is. But between what we have banked and everything, I think we're still hovering probably somewhere in the 86 to 88% approval range.
I am an FBI agent.
Chris, any final thoughts?
I would probably rank this as the worst Phantasm movie.
I've only seen 2, but Phantasm Deuce is the pinnacle for me. So yeah, this would be a distant third behind the first one. I like that you brought that up though. That definitely, the first thing I thought of was the Unforgivable, Took Her to Silver Ball, and Phantasm. Absolutely, was just so. Yeah, I've been running around quoting Unforgivable, Happy Birthday in Tiny Tim voice, and thinking about Phantasm. So yeah, check out Phantasm. Look back in the archives. Episode, I don't know what the fuck, Phantasm 2 we covered with Chris was a lot of fun as well. If you guys have any thoughts about Longlegs, you think we're wrong, right, you can email us at waxing the porpoise at wax@waxingtheporpoise.com. It's been so long, I don't even know what our email is anymore. Or either of our socials. Instagram is at Waxing the Porpoise. Twitter X is at Waxing the Porp. Thank you, as always, Chris, for coming back. Check out Chris's Mount Molehill podcast. Do you want to plug that real quick?
Yeah. Just go. I mean, if you listen to the show, you know what it is. So just go listen to it, I guess, or don't.
Just raise the flag.
When's season 2 coming?
Soon or never. Who knows?
Just like this episode. It'll be 3 weeks from now.
No, you got to put it out. You got to strike while the iron's hot.
I know I do. And I feel a little cheap for kind of going this route because I know it's going to get probably some more clicks just for the name recognition of the movie, but we don't do this very often. So I thought it'd be fun to try and get Steve out to the theater and talk about something super topical for once. But yeah, Conjite to follow. I promise.
What was the last movie you saw in theaters, Steve?
Oh boy, Top Gun?
Yeah, it probably was. I'm trying to think if there was anything in between.
It was Top Gun, just there was nothing before that.
Because that was like a year and a half ago, right? Like,
yeah. You're not a big movie guy, as evidenced by this show.
Yeah, I'm not a big movie guy, but there must have been something in between. Maybe not, but I would have to think about it.
I almost feel like you guys have done one of these where you saw a movie at the theaters, but I could be wrong.
No, I don't think so. This is the first of its kind that we've gone super recent. I'm going to look real quick. I think the most recent besides this is we got 2015 in there. A lot of 85 through 89 is a big number as well. We did They Clone Tyrone, which was only a Netflix exclusive, but that was very new as well. I think that is the only one within the last 6 years that we've done. Yep.
I think I watched Black Phone in theaters.
Oh yeah, that's right. That came out after Top Gun, I have to say. Didn't you like that one?
I did. Yeah, I liked it a lot.
Yeah, I like Black Phone as well. It's fucking some creepy ass fucking portions of that movie.
I also want to say that when Nicolas Cage's name showed up in the credits, I just got a from my significant other, because she has this thing where I'll admit.
Wait, did she not know that was Nicolas Cage in the movie?
No, she had no idea what this movie was. No, like at the beginning, because he's in the beginning credits like 4 times, because he was like a producer, executive producer.
Yeah. Yep.
But I will admit, I have been watching a lot of Gerard Butler movies lately. So every time she's like, she rolls her eyes, and I coincidentally watched like 2 Denzel Washington movies in a row, and then she picked out the Magnificent Seven remake, thinking someone else was in it, but it was actually Denzel Washington. So she just has a thing, like, no matter what actor I pick, she's just like, oh, another one of his. It's like, well, there are a limited number of them. Like, I can't guarantee you that there's going to be a different leading actor in all of them.
Wait, so did she saw Nic Cage and was like, because it's overkill of Nic Cage, or
I think it was just like another one of your fucking movies that you picked out because some guy is in it. And I honestly,
Isn't that why anyone goes to?
Yeah, I feel like the last Nicolas Cage movie I watched was Renfield in the theater with her because she wanted to see it. So
fucking Uno reverse.
And I've probably seen like 5 Denzel Washington movies total. She has a point with Gerard Butler, because I do. Like, I keep watching his fucking movies, but
dude, that dude fucking works, man.
Yeah, he does. Den of Thieves
wasn't his
good one.
Wasn't his most recent one fucking? It was just plain.
That was one of the more recent ones. It was a good one. Watch it.
The movie, it was plain.
Law Abiding Citizen. Watch it.
Law Abiding Citizen's cool.
Reign of Fire.
Pretty kooky. He's in Reign of Fire?
Yeah, he's like the second main character.
So you don't like
Shit, I haven't
you don't like Tarantino movies, but you watch every Gerard Butler movie.
Well, not all of them. I haven't watched How to Train Your Dragon, but I have watched Geostorm and the one that was on a submarine.
Didn't mean to besmirch.
Hunter Killer.
I can't wait until Halloween because we're gonna watch Dracula 2000. It's
Have
gonna
you
be
seen?
so good.
Have you seen any or all of the Equalizer films with Denzel?
I have not seen any of them. I just watched Man on
boy.
Fire for the first time last week.
I wish you had more time to watch
And
all of the Equalizer
John Q
films.
for the first time.
Yeah, I could take or leave John Q. It's got some fucking pretty heart-wrenching moments in John
Gonna
Q.
bury my son.
I liked it. It was very like of its time, but so was Man on Fire. Like I kind of could not take the early 2000s, like everything's fucking green and like the manic editing. If I had seen it when it came out, I probably would have loved it.
It was the epitome of like 2005 or 2006. It's just stamped so hard on it.
Also, if they had had the balls to kill Dakota Fanning, I would have liked it a lot more, but you just can't expect that in a movie.
Yeah, Equalizer's S tier, as the kids
So
say
good.
these days.
It's so good.
Yeah. Alrighty. Well, I can't think of any better note than to go out on Denzel, so we'll leave it at that. Let us know what you guys thought of Longlegs, of us. Leave us a like, rating, comment,
Hate mail.
subscribe, hate mail, all of it. And we'll see you at some point next time. Thanks.
No rules, just right.